The ego is said to be the root cause of all suffering, all misery, for everything stems through the filter of egoic consciousness. When you identify with name, form, with content, when you consider yourself a bag of flesh and bone with an incessant chattering mind, you move yourself from wholeness into fragmentation. You're no longer aware that you are the timeless, unmanifested presence in which all things and events are taking place. You start to identify with life's challenges. You forget that they're all catalysts for you to wake up to your true identity. You start to see that everything that you experience is missing something. It may capture your attention for a brief period of time, but it doesn't last. So you move to try to achieve more success, more material possessions, name, fame, property, and relationships to give you a sense of completeness. You start to see that everything is based on the internal reference point of your past or your future, embedded into grooves in the mind. You hold on to this cherished victim story, whether it be a wonderful or a sad story. They are all stories that pamper your egoic mind. You start to look unconsciously for drama, then to experience peace. The ego thrives on tension, conflict, competition, comparisons. It does not like the state of peace for long, because it's not really strengthened through that identity. Peace means stillness, silence, non-resistance, and acceptance to what is. The ego cannot stay in that space for long. It feels the need to stand out. This is why it edges the now out. We have chosen self-forgetfulness, limitation, and contrast as a catalyst for growth, for change, for divine remembering. It's important to know that while you are playing this polarity game and this third density, there are rules, and the biggest rule of all is to not get trapped in your false conceptual identity. The ego. The ego is never satisfied. It always craves, clings, and wants more. It's constantly blaming other people or circumstances. It complains to feel inferior or superior. It uses disempowering labels like unfairness, not good enough, a loser, constantly reacting to the external circumstances. It always sees that everything on the outside is separate and somehow unrelated or not connected. It lives in constant reactivity. It harbors pain, guilt, anger, shame, jealousy, and it keeps repeating it over and over again like Groundhog Day. Letting go or transcending your grievances is kryptonite to the ego, because automatically presence descends on you. Letting go is a gift that you give to yourself. It is setting the prisoner free, so you're no longer caught up within the feedback loop of personal pain and suffering, constantly repeating this unhappy story over and over again, identifying with it. The ego always sees everything as a threat. That threat emerges from the feeling of fear, insecurity. This is why it wants to possess more and more. It's constantly labeling and judging people, things, and situations. We fail to realize that when we stop judging, labeling, our minds become more still, silent. There's less turbulence. You become the watcher of the mind. It brings us to a place where we are more closer to feeling our own presence. This is why it's so important to realize the now. This is not influenced by linear time. To go beyond the egoic mind is to be in the present as presence. The egoic mind is simply a tool. We mistake the tool for who we are. And because of that, we are ruled by the mind, which is to serve us. But now we become servants to the tool. This is why it says that the ego is a wonderful servant, but a lousy master. We must free fall back into the detached observer. This way you will transcend your conditioned mind. Surrender and saying yes to life disempowers the ego. This will allow presence to work through us as us. There's a feeling of internal acceptance and faith to what is. It's moving into the gap between thoughts. The more you are in the space of the absolute, the more the ego weakens its grip over our minds. We get access to the divine mentor, our inner guru that's always been there, waiting to guide us to new levels of being, expansion. You become the source of all joy, creativity, intelligence, intuition, equanimity, and being. Life becomes a gift, a celebration, because we recognize that we are life itself. And this is self.